Welcome to CrimePod Castle Unsolved Mystery Series, Episode 62. Get ready, because today, we're taking you straight to the heart of Delhi, back to 2001, for a deep dive into the Kashmere Gate Murders. It's a case that's both perplexing and chilling.
It really shows how, a normal day can turn dark so fast. And how some mysteries, they just refuse to give up their secrets,
Exactly. Just picture this. August 14th, a humid summer evening in Delhi. Kashmere Gate is usually known for its busy markets, but this night, it's unusually quiet. In a normal office, the quiet is broken by a horrible discovery. Two employees, Rohit Malhotra and Vinay Sharma, they're found brutally murdered.
What's really striking is the contrast between how ordinary their lives seemed and the just brutal way they were killed. Rohit was the office manager, a real family man. You'd picture him going home to his family after work. And Vinay, he was a young clerk full of ambition, just starting out. It's a sad reminder that tragedy can strike anyone.
It makes you wonder what could push someone to do something so violent, to people who live such normal lives. And that's where it gets interesting, right? The investigation itself. It had all these puzzles that didn't add up.
Oh, absolutely. At first. Because they were missing cash and a computer, everyone thought it was a robbery gone wrong. But the violence, the rage you could see at the crime scene, it pointed to something much worse than just a theft.
It's almost like there was something personal about it, like they wanted to inflict pain more than they wanted to just steal stuff.
That's one of the main questions. That has bothered investigators for years. And to make it more complicated, there was no sign of forced entry, meaning the killer either knew the victims, had access to the office, or was somehow let in.
Wait. So we're talking about someone they might have trusted, a coworker, a friend, someone who knew the office. That makes this even creepier, doesn't it?
Yeah. It really does. And then there are the witnesses, which is interesting, but they just make the mystery even deeper. People said they saw a suspicious man around the building that night, but the descriptions they gave were vague. No one could definitively say who it was.
It's like this shadowy figure in the background, adding to how unsettling this whole case is. But what about actual evidence? Did the investigators find anything at the scene? That could help them figure out who did it.
Well, there's the issue of the blood they found. Blood that didn't belong to either victim. This tells us there was a struggle, a fight. And it's very likely the attacker got hurt during the attack. Now think about it. In 2001, DNA technology was still pretty new. Today, that one drop of blood could solve the whole case.
Hold on. So they had the attacker's blood. Couldn't figure out who it was. It's so frustrating. What were the limits of DNA tech back then?
Back then, DNA analysis was a much slower and less accurate process. The databases were smaller, the techniques less refined. Today, we can take DNA from even the tiniest samples and compare them against huge databases. But in 2001, that blood sample, it was a clue they just couldn't use.
It makes you wonder if that sample is still around, tucked away somewhere. It could be the key to finally understanding what happened, right?
Yeah.
But even with the blood, they still didn't know why. What could make someone do something this violent?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's a question that really bothered the investigators. They looked into every part of the victims' lives, personal and professional. They wanted to find any hint of a motive. A secret enemy, a hidden grudge, a secret someone would kill to keep. But no matter how hard they looked, they couldn't find anything solid.
So we've got a crime with no clear motive.
Right.
A mysterious attacker who might have known the victims. And this blood sample. That could be the key to solving everything. It's like a puzzle with missing pieces. But even the pieces we do have are totally fascinating.
It's a puzzle that's both intriguing and incredibly frustrating. And while the case is officially unsolved, there's always that little bit of hope that with new technology, or maybe a new way of looking at things, we might finally learn the truth about the Kashmere Gate murders. This case really makes you think about people. You have these two victims, seemingly normal folks, but the way they were killed, it makes you think there was some serious hatred there.
Right. And that brings us to the theories, the different stories the investigators looked into to try and understand what happened.
One of the first theories, as we mentioned, was that it was a robbery gone wrong. But a lot of people, they didn't think the brutality fit that. It seemed way too violent for a simple robbery, like there had to be something more personal going on.
Do you think it's possible that whoever did this wanted us to think it was a robbery? Maybe they tried to make it look that way, to throw off the investigators.
That's definitely possible. It wouldn't be the first time someone tried to mislead the police. But on the other hand, the attack was so brutal, it doesn't really feel like a carefully planned cover-up. It feels more like they were letting out a lot of anger, like it was driven by some strong emotions.
Okay. So maybe not a robbery, or at least not a straightforward one. What about a personal vendetta? Could one of the victims have been involved in something, some kind of conflict that ended up like this?
Investigators definitely looked into that. They talked to coworkers, friends, family members, anyone who might know about their personal lives. They were looking for any sign of a problem, a secret affair, a grudge that someone might have been holding on to.
And what did they find? Were there any secrets, any hidden feuds?
They tried their best, but the investigators couldn't find any real proof that there was a personal vendetta, both Rohit and Vinay. People said they were hardworking, well-liked. They didn't seem like the kind of people who would make enemies or cause this level of hatred.
You know, though, sometimes it's the quiet ones, the ones who don't stand out, who have the most to hide.
That's true. We never really know what's going on in people's lives, what secrets they might be keeping.
Okay, so if it wasn't personal, what about a professional rivalry? Could this have been about competition at work, a business deal that went bad, a rival trying to get rid of the competition?
That was another theory the investigators considered. Delhi, as you know. It's a city with a really busy business world, and it's not uncommon for competition to get nasty.
Right, especially when the stakes are high. People can get desperate, make bad decisions, and sometimes those decisions have terrible consequences.
Exactly. Investigators looked into the company's business, trying to find any sign of a competitor. Who might have benefited from Rohit and Vinay's deaths?
Did they find anything suspicious? Any competitors who might have gone to these extremes?
There were definitely rumors, but the investigators couldn't find any solid evidence to connect the murders to a business rival or to any specific deal that went wrong.
So we're back where we started. No clear motive, a mysterious attacker who might have known the victims, and a blood sample that could be the answer to everything.
It's incredibly frustrating, and it's even worse. Because this all happened over 20 years ago. People's memories fade, witnesses are harder to find, and the trail gets colder every year.
It makes you wonder if the truth is out there somewhere, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to put the pieces together, to see the pattern that everyone else has missed.
And that's where the stolen computer comes in. Remember, whoever did this didn't just take cash. They specifically took the office computer. Which makes you think they might have been looking for something specific. A file, a document, something that could get someone in trouble or reveal a secret.
So, the computer could have the missing piece of the puzzle. Maybe it had information that could explain the motive or even tell us who the killer is.
It's possible. And even if they deleted the data, which they probably did, advances in digital forensics might be able to recover bits of the original information.
Imagine that. A deleted email, a hidden file, a digital clue that leads investigators straight to the killer. It's like something out of a movie, isn't it?
It is. And while it might sound a little crazy, we live in a time where technology is always changing. Who knows what secrets that stolen computer might still hold?
It reminds you that even in a cold case, there's always a chance, maybe a small one, that new evidence will show up, that there will be a breakthrough, that justice will finally be served.
And for the families of Rohit and Vinay, that little bit of hope is what keeps them going. They've lived for over 20 years with the pain of not knowing, with all these unanswered questions.
It's amazing how strong they are to carry that burden for so long, to never give up hope. It shows the power of love and the belief that the truth will eventually come out. These are the kinds of cases that really stick with you. You have all the pieces, but you just can't quite see the whole picture. It makes you want to get out a notebook, lay out all the evidence, and try to figure it out yourself.
It's the ultimate puzzle, right? And what makes it so interesting is that these aren't just ideas. These are real people, real families whose lives were changed forever by this mystery.
And for those families, not knowing what happened must be so painful. To not have answers, to not be able to hold anyone accountable. It's like a wound that never heals.
Absolutely. It shows how much we need to understand things, to have justice. We want to believe that everything happens for a reason, that even when something terrible happens, there's some kind of order, some balance that will be restored.
But sometimes we just don't get those answers, or we have to face the fact that some things might always be a mystery.
It's a hard truth to accept, but it's something we have to deal with in cases like this. It makes us ask ourselves, what does justice mean? When we can't get answers the usual way, how do we find peace? When the answers we're looking for are just out of reach.
Those are really deep questions, and we might not have clear answers. But I think it's important to remember that trying to get justice isn't just about catching the person who did it. It's also about remembering the victims, keeping their memories alive, and making sure their stories aren't forgotten.
I totally agree. By talking about this case, by looking at all the details, by acknowledging the questions we still have, we're keeping the investigation alive in a way.
And who knows, maybe by going over everything again, by shining a light on this unsolved mystery, we might help someone remember something, or find a new clue, or see things in a new way. That could finally solve this case.
There's always hope, and until we know the truth, the Kashmere Gate Murders will remind us how fragile life is, the power of mystery, and how important it is to keep searching for justice, no matter how long it takes.
Well said. And thank you for joining us on this deep dive into one of Delhi's most confusing unsolved mysteries. We hope you found it as interesting and thought-provoking as we did.
If this case got you curious, we encourage you to do your own research, look into the different theories, and see what conclusions you come up with.
And don't forget to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle for more deep dives into India's most intriguing unsolved mysteries. We'll be back next time with another case that's sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. Until then, stay curious and maybe a little bit cautious.